What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you get notified straight away as soon as any new content drops on the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one. Last night we had it, the big grudge match, the fight that sold out in 10 minutes between Amir and Kell Brook. Obviously, this is a grudge that had been building for the best part of 10 years. Both guys sort of went their separate ways, but there was always talk about these guys fighting, and they both felt that they were better than each other. Amir Khan obviously had big achievements in America, bigger profile and stuff, and Kell Brook plowed his trade mainly over here, but also world champion in his own right. So this fight, going into it, it was always, for me at least, a question of who had more left. Going into it, I slightly leant towards Amir Khan, just fancying that he'd done his calculations right, and with Kell Brook and those eye injuries that he'd had, I just thought that, well, maybe with the speed of Amir Khan, he might be able to sort of get the better of Kell Brook, and it might just work out better for him. That was my opinion, not a confident one, but that was what I was saying going in. So I have to hold my hands up today and say I was totally wrong on that, as it went completely the opposite way. As the fight began, it was a little bit cagey. First round, as a lot of these fights are, the first round's a bit cagey. They're feeling each other out, seeing what each other's got, and this one was the same. Khan was sort of using a lot of movement in the first round. Kell Brook was sort of standing off Amir Khan a little bit, following him round. Not too much action, but there was a point in which I think Kell Brook caught Khan with a left hook and catched him with his left hook, and you could tell that Khan wobbled. And to be brutally honest with you, in terms of how this fight went, it was like from that first round where Amir Khan got hurt, where Kell Brook rocked him, you could just see in Kell Brook's eyes that he knew that this is it. That from all I need to do, catch him again, and that's it. You could tell that he kind of knew that, yeah, it's a matter of time before I get you again. And in terms of rounds, round by round, this fight was pretty much a one-sided fight overall, because the story of it was basically Kell Brook coming after Amir Khan sort of moving, and he used his legs quite well in this fight, but the thing was, he just wasn't quite able to get off with a lot of these flurries that he had in other fights, because Kell Brook was using his Ingle style very well, because Kell Brook would sort of follow Khan around and sort of put him under that bit of pressure and make Khan have to try and throw shots. But it seemed like for the vast majority of this fight, as Kell Brook went on the front foot and sort of followed Amir Khan around, Khan would sort of try and throw shots, and Brook would sort of lean back. And that lean back move, that Ingle move that they do, where they kind of avoid punches by just upper body movement, that worked a treat for Kell Brook. And many a times that's what he was doing with Khan. It's coming in, and Khan may land a few or he may miss, and then as he's punching, Brook's leaning back, and then Brook was able to just come back with some nice counters. And you could tell that every time Kell Brook landed, it was hard shots, it was meaningful shots. He wasn't really bothering too much with the jabs and the setting up the punches. And in a sense, this kind of was a bit of a negative on Kell Brook's side. The fact that sometimes some of the shots he threw were kind of swings and were a bit too wide, and he with some of his work it was a bit too wild. But to his credit, it was still a lot better than what Amir Khan was doing, because Amir Khan throughout this fight was just like he just couldn't get off. When he did throw his punches, it was like, apart from a few occasions, for the most part, he just couldn't really get off with anything meaningful. It was like what he was throwing just wasn't doing any damage at all. it was like night and day. You know, when he tried and hit Brook, it was just like, it looks like pity patty shots. But when Kell Brook landed, every time he landed, and because he's landed with counters, it's like double the impact of what Amir Khan was doing. You know, and it was just pretty much Kell Brook all through the fight. Just he was doing this sort of front foot counter punching style, where the only thing I think he may have been able to do better, Kell Brook, is sort of cut the ring off, cut Amir Khan off so he can't move. But what he was doing was kind of following Khan around, but it still worked because as he followed Khan and pushed him back, Khan would sort of try and punch and not have much success, and then Brook would come back with his powerful shots, right hands and left hooks, and you know, got some uppercuts in there time to time, and you know, it was just quite a dominant display overall by Kell Brook. So he done very well throughout the fight. I mean, I think Khan had a good sort of, I think it was round two, or it was round two or round three, which was kind of the swing round where, yeah, okay, you might be able to give it to Amir Khan, but apart from that, it was just completely all Kell Brook. Kell Brook just having his way with him, countering him all the time, and Kell Brook, you could tell he was coming for blood because most of the shots he was throwing was power shots. You know, it wasn't pity patting with Khan. You could tell he come in there to do damage, and you know, I think it was before the end of the fight, you know, sort of fourth, fifth round, he had Khan wobbled several times in those rounds, and you know, throughout this whole fight, Khan, you know, he had to take some seriously heavy shots, and that's one thing I will say, that as much as people will say, oh, Khan's got a glass chin, he's got a glass jaw, to his credit, in this fight, as much as he took heavy leather, he didn't actually go down at all in this fight. So that was, in terms of Khan, you've got to give him that, at least that respect, that he did ship some heavy blows, his legs did go certain times, but he never actually got knocked down. So that's you know, we have to credit Khan with that bravery. You know, he gets badly hurt in the, you know, fourth and fifth, and he wobbles, then he calls Kell Brook to come on. I could see some development in that in Amir Khan, in the sense that when he did get hit and he got hurt with big shots, he didn't immediately try and fire back and then put himself in danger. He was quite careful. He would get hit and get hurt, and then he'd move and, you know, try and recover. And he did recover from some of these big shots, but you could tell that by the time it sort of got to the fifth, you could tell that, you know, the writing is on the wall, even from the first round, with the wobble there. And you know, the end came in round six, where Kell Brook just began to light up Amir Khan again, just pushing Khan back, making Khan feel under pressure, and every time, every little mistake Khan makes, it's bang, it's a power shot over the top, powerful hooks, and you know, all sorts of shots Kell Brook was landing on Amir Khan, and Amir Khan just couldn't take it anymore. Referee jumps in and stops it in round six. You could argue that it's a bit of a premature stoppage, you know, because Khan was still on his feet. You could have said, maybe they could have allowed him to take a count, or allowed him to actually go down or whatever. But to me personally, I think you could argue that, but overall I don't think it was a premature stoppage, because it was a fight where Khan was just taking heavy punishment all throughout the fight, and in round six you just knew that it wasn't like Khan was in the fight, or he was winning the fight, or he was even close to winning the fight. You know, looking at it, watching it round by round, you just knew that it was an inevitability that if that fight wasn't stopped when it was stopped, Khan would have just got knocked out cold, or you know, he could have got serious injuries after the fight or whatever. He was already marked up all over his body, on the face and everything, the eyes, and you know, it was already kind of mashed up. So I think the referee done the right thing to stop it, because it would have only been a worse beating, or Amir Khan being knocked out cold. And you know, to be fair, you know, you preserved them and saved these fights for yourself. I'm sure if it was up to Amir Khan, he would have fought on. You know, he would have been happy to get knocked down and then try and come back up. So yeah, congratulations to Kell Brook. He wins the grudge match. You could see that it meant the world to him. You know, he was lifted up by Dominic Hinkle, really celebrating, and big congratulations to Kell Brook. It's definitely one of the best performances of his career. And there's a few people talking about what's next. They threw Chris Eubank Jr. in there, and he was with the broadcast team at certain points in this, and said he's got beef with Kell Brook, and he feels Kell Brook took the Triple G fight from him, which I don't agree with. I don't think he did take it. From what I understand, the Eubanks turned the fight down, and then Kell Brook just volunteered. That's what I understand. Could be wrong, but I think that's why he didn't fight Golovkin. It's not because of Brook, because it's because him, Eubank Senior and Junior, turned the fight down, and Brook said, "No, I'll take it." And at first I was thinking, this is a bit of a silly fight for Eubank, because Eubank is supposedly, he's looking to fight, he wants the big fights. He wants Golovkin, he wants the Charlos, he wants the sort of top boys at middleweight. So I was thinking, why would he want to fight Kell Brook, who's been a career welterweight? But he said it himself, Eubank Jr. He said that, look, at the end of the day, people know names, and I'm a name. That's Chris Eubank Jr. He's now beaten Amir Khan. He's now a bigger name. So the two big names against each other will make sense. And I think, from the business perspective, it makes sense. But as Carl Froch said to him on the broadcast, what does he actually gain from fighting and beating Kell Brook? Because if he fights Kell Brook and beats Kell Brook, all people are going to say is, well, you picked on a welterweight, you beat a welterweight, and that's it. And you're a middleweight, and you fought at super middleweight, and you beat a welterweight. No big deal. Whereas I think in that fight, if it does happen, I think Kell Brook's the one that's got a lot more to gain, because Kell Brook will be, obviously the smaller man in that fight. But if he beats someone like Chris Eubank, he could beat him and then just retire. So there's a lot of options there. Apart from that, I suppose you could argue the Conor Benn, but would Conor Benn motivate Kell Brook? And what does Kell Brook have to gain from that, really? I don't know that he has much to gain. I think the Chris Eubank one, he does have something to gain, but it's also a risky fight because he's giving up a fair bit of weight. So anyway, let me know what you think about this, and what did you think about the fight, and what do you think the next move should be? I mean, I personally think if you're talking about the most sensible move for Kell Brook would be to retire, and the most sensible move for Amir Khan would be to retire while they've still got health intact. But anyway, let me know what you thought about the fight and everything, and until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out.